This presentation is designed to provide an overview of student life disability services at Ohio State University, which will often be abbreviated as SLDS during the presentation. Topics covered will include the role of SLDS in a student's educational experience, how to register with SLDS, popular accommodations offered by SLDS, and some of the key differences to anticipate between experiences in K-12 and post-secondary education. So without further ado, let's get started. First, to provide a little more context, the mission of Student Life Disability Services is to collaborate with students, faculty, and staff to enable equal access to all parts of university life. We accomplish this through a number of different ways, some of which we'll cover in this presentation. As you're no doubt experiencing right now, making the transition to college is an exciting time. Being proactive and taking the time to understand your rights and responsibilities and how they differ from high school is an important step as a new Buckeye, especially for students with disabilities. So let's chat a little bit more about some of the ways in which collegiate accommodations differ from high school. First, students can apply to register with SLDS even if they did not have an IEP or 504 plan in high school. Registration can be started at any time, though for certain accommodations, there may be priority deadlines associated with making the request for those accommodations. So it's always best to check our website to stay informed about those priority deadlines. Additionally, SLDS supports students at all levels, including students who are non-degree seeking, as well as those pursuing their undergraduate, graduate, and professional degrees. Additionally, SLDS offers both permanent and temporary support to meet various needs. SLDS reviews each application individually to determine if a student is eligible and which accommodations will reasonably support them access university programs and services. Not all high school accommodations will be available in college. This is a conversation that students and their access specialists can have in more detail to discuss which accommodations would be appropriate to transition from high school to college, and which accommodations may need to be added in the college setting as well. Once registered, students must request services each semester through an online portal and advocate for their needs with faculty and staff so that the faculty and staff can best support the student. Parents cannot access student records without written consent from the student, which SLDS would keep on file in our office. Accommodations help ensure equitable access, but do not change course content or academic standards. All students can use university advising, coaching, and tutoring to succeed. Students registered with SLDS will also have an assigned access specialist. We encourage students with disabilities to register with SLDS to be considered for accommodations. Disabilities include, but are not limited to, mental health conditions, chronic health diagnoses, ADHD, physical and/or learning disabilities, and temporary injuries or conditions. Students are welcome to reach out to our office at any point if they would like to discuss whether their diagnosis or condition might be eligible to receive accommodations. The screenshot on this slide is demonstrating where to register on our SLDS website. First, you'll navigate to the webpage at slds.osu.edu. Then you will navigate to the How to Register tab at the top of the screen. This next slide shows what will display when you select the How to Register tab. There are a variety of different types of registrations that are outlined on this page. The first is temporary accommodations, which would support students who have a temporary condition, which requires temporary accommodations. The next option is for academic accommodations only. Students would select this option if they are seeking only academic accommodations. The next option is academic and on-campus housing accommodations. Students would select this option if they're seeking academic accommodations, as well as requesting accommodations for on-campus housing. The next option is for on-campus housing accommodations only. Students would select this option if they're only seeking an accommodation relating to on-campus housing. The second to last option has information about how to add a request for an on-campus housing accommodation if a student is already registered and approved for academic accommodations. And the final selection pertains to adding academic accommodations if a student is already registered with an on-campus housing accommodation. If a student is new to Ohio State and has not yet registered with Student Life Disability Services, they would be selecting one of the first four options for registration. Once a student has determined what accommodations they'll be requesting, they would select the appropriate application, which corresponds with the type of registration they are seeking. SLDS does have certain types of documentation that is required for specific types of registration. The documentation requirements are outlined next to the corresponding application type. If at any time students have questions about the registration process, which type of registration to request, or what type of documentation may be required, they can always contact our office. Our contact information will be reviewed on the final slide of this presentation. Depending on which registration a student is seeking, there may be some additional types of registration options that can be chosen from. On this screen, it is explaining that the Scarlet registration type would support students who are seeking academic or academic and housing accommodations. This type of registration would include a welcome meeting. The gray registration type would support students who are seeking an administrative registration without a welcome meeting. More information on the type of accommodations that may be eligible for the gray administrative registration type is outlined on the How to Register webpage. A housing registration type would be for students who are seeking only housing accommodations, and a temporary registration type would be for students who are seeking registration for a temporary condition or injury. As I shared earlier, it's important to pay attention to what type of documentation may be required for the type of registration you are seeking. This slide contains documentation guidelines broadly. In general, documentation would provide confirmation of diagnosis and/or prior accommodations. Examples of acceptable disability documentation include an IEP or a 504 plan, medical records or patient portal diagnostic summary, a letter from a healthcare professional on letterhead, which includes either a digital or handwritten signature and confirms a diagnosis, an accommodation letter from a previous post-secondary institution, a full evaluation or diagnostic report, or our Ohio State Disability Verification Form, which would be completed by a healthcare professional. This disability verification form is linked on our website under the Documentation Guidelines page. This slide shows the disability verification form, which I just mentioned. You can scan the QR code on the left of the screen to be linked directly to the webpage that hosts this form, or you can navigate to it from our SLDS website. What to expect when registering. So after submitting your application and all required documents, our application team will review your materials. If eligible for registration, you will receive an email inviting you to schedule a welcome meeting. Once you schedule your welcome meeting, you will attend your welcome meeting or review or administrative approval. All welcome meetings are currently being conducted via phone or Zoom by default, with an in-person meeting available upon request. During your welcome meeting, you and your access specialist will discuss any disability-related barriers, accommodations to address those barriers, and how to set up accommodations. Alternatively, if you submit your application and documentation, SLDS may require additional information. If this is required, you will also be notified via email, which would outline the information that SLDS requires. This slide provides an overview of commonly provided accommodations. The accommodations are not exhaustive, but serve as a starting point to consider accommodations that may be appropriate for you. For example, our office can support with accommodations for exams, note-taking support, housing and dining accommodations, assistive technology and accessible media, ASL interpreting and transcription, furniture mobility and transportation assistance, and priority scheduling. Again, this list is not exhaustive, and you're always welcome to discuss accommodations with your access specialist to determine which accommodations are right for you. Once students are registered with SLDS, students are assigned an access specialist based on their academic college or major. Students should contact their assigned access specialist if they need to adjust accommodations, have housing questions, or have other accommodation implementation concerns. There are a number of ways that students can identify how to get in touch with their access specialist. One of the most common ways is via our website. On this slide, we have an image of our webpage to demonstrate where to find our contact information. First, navigate to slds.osu.edu, then select the Registered Students tab and select the Contact My Access Specialist subtab. On this page, it will display an alphabetized list of access specialists along with their email address and bookings link. You're welcome to connect with SLDS at any point in your journey. The left side of this slide gives a visual representation of our building location on the campus map, as well as a picture of the front of our building, which has a few concrete pathways leading up to a brick building. SLDS is located in 098 Baker Hall, 113 West 12th Avenue, Columbus, Ohio, 43210. Our phone number is 614-292-3307, and our video phone number is 614-500-4445. Our website is slds.osu.edu, and our email address is slds@osu.edu. Our office is open weekdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and access specialists are available for drop-in appointments from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. We look forward to connecting with you.